Okay, so have you ever heard that saying that everything global starts local?
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things you hear every now and then, and you're like, yeah, huh, okay, makes sense, I guess. But I was thinking about it the other day, and
Hmm.
I was like, huh, it really is true. Like you think about
Yeah,
any big company, any big movement, like anything,
right.
it all
It's still
starts.
somewhere small.
Yeah, with just like one or two people with an idea in like a basement or a garage or even a
Yeah.
dorm room.
Absolutely.
So we are going to dive deep today into this whole local to global thing using a
Yes.
pretty unexpected source. Um, we have a snippet of a message from Bishop David Oyedepo,
Right.
and he's a Nigerian Christian author,
Hmm.
preacher, the founder and presiding bishop of the megachurch Faith Tabernacle
Wow.
in Lagos. And
Impressive.
yeah, he's pretty well known in Nigeria and beyond for his teachings on faith prosperity and all that.
I see.
And he's got this really interesting take on how success starts from wherever you are right now and how that can kind of ripple outwards.
So you're saying we're gonna like look at this idea of local to global through the lens of this bishop's message.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So in this message, Oyedepo, he uses this phrase, from the place where thou art.
Mm.
And it really struck me.
Well,
Like he's saying, it doesn't matter if you're, starting a business from your kitchen table
yeah.
or writing a book in a coffee shop or, building a website in your basement. Like
Mm-hmm.
you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it's like you can't wait for the perfect conditions or the perfect resources.
Yeah.
You got to start with what you have right where you are and then build from there.
Like it's all about taking action and not letting those limiting beliefs hold you back, you know.
Absolutely.
Like I think about even my own journey with this podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
we started with just like a really basic setup,
Mm.
and we've grown and learned so much along the way, but like none of that would have happened if we just sat around waiting for the perfect moment or the
Yeah.
perfect equipment or whatever.
Exactly. And I think it's like that with so many things in life. I mean, whether it's, starting a business or a creative project or even just, like developing a new skill,
Hmm.
like you got to start somewhere and you got to be willing to experiment and make mistakes and, learn as you go.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Oyedepo, he actually uses a story from the Bible to kind of illustrate this point.
Oh, really? Which one?
It's from Genesis chapter 13,
Okay.
verses 14 and 15, where God tells Abram to look in all directions because
Mm.
he's going to inherit all this land.
Right.
And Oyedepo, he uses this to talk about having a vision that goes beyond your immediate surroundings.
Hmm. That's interesting because it's like, on the surface level, it's about this specific piece of land. But like you're saying, it's more about having that bigger vision, that kind of expansive mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Like even if your starting point is small,
Mm.
your aspirations, your goals, like it
Right.
can be huge.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because it's easy to get caught up in, the limitations of where you are right now.
Hmm.
But if you can like step back and see the bigger picture
Yeah,
and really like envision where you want to go, then those limitations they start to seem a lot less significant.
totally. I love that. And he also talks about how, you got to show up, you got to be present.
Yeah.
And he uses this example of people arriving late to a 7.0 service.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting.
And he connects that to ambition and maximizing opportunities.
Huh. I wouldn't have thought to connect those two things like arriving late and global ambition.
I know. It's a little out there, right?
Yeah.
But what he's getting at is that like every minute counts.
Mm-hmm.
If you're serious about achieving your goals, you got to be disciplined. You got to be present and make the most of every opportunity that comes your way.
So it's not so much about literally being on time.
Right.
It's about having that kind of internal drive to make the most of every situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that really ties back into this whole idea of starting local.
Well, how so?
Like if you can't even master the small things like showing up on time or,
Right.
managing your time effectively, then
How are you gonna?
how are you going to handle the bigger challenges that come with, expanding your reach?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's about building those foundational habits that will serve you well no matter how big your goals become.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to bring this back to our listeners.
Okay.
What is your local?
Mm.
Like what is your starting point? Your current skill set?
Mm.
Your network.
resources.
Yeah, what are those unique assets that you have right here, right now?
Mm.
And how can you leverage those to create something bigger, something that maybe has a global impact?
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that global doesn't necessarily mean, worldwide. It
Right.
could be global within your industry or your community.
Yeah,
It's about expanding beyond your current limits, whatever those limits might be.
exactly. So what's one small step you can take today
Yeah.
to move from your local to your own vision of global?
Because even the most amazing journeys, the ones that change the world, they all start with a single step.
So true.
So,
That's it for our deep dive today.
thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us.